What's going on, you guys? It's your boy JT, and today we're going to talk about how to survive psychiatry, so stay tuned. So before I begin, I do apologize in advance if you hear a little bit of background music. My neighbor's having a little bit of a party, so just a quick disclaimer. So today we're going to go over what my schedule looked like as a medical student going through his psychiatry rotation. We're going to talk a little bit about how I studied, and we're going to talk a little bit about just other things surrounding overall mental illness. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Also hit that like button down below. It also helps my algorithm. Again, as always, if you need to get a hold of me, my Instagram handle is going to be juliansolotorres. Again, that's juliansolotorres. If you have any questions, go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram as well. Go ahead and message me. So with all that being said, what was my schedule like as a third-year medical student going through his psychiatry rotation? It was every Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That being said, we would go ahead and show up. I was with another medical student. We would go ahead and round from between 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock during interviews, or doing interviews rather, from the previous patients that were coming in from the previous day, asking them why they're here, have they ever been to a psychiatric hospital before, and things like that. And then from around 10 o'clock to 11 in the morning, we would go ahead and have basically mini jury duty, or we would basically be able to sit in on court cases. One thing that's very interesting about the psychiatry realm is the fact that these patients actually have rights in regards to whether or not they are being able to be held in a psychiatric hospital with or against their will. All that being said, it's a fancy term called conservatorship. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with what conservatorship is, don't worry, neither was I. Conservatorship basically is a legal ability for your conservator to be able to give you medications, essentially if you want them or not. This is to prevent people from coming into the psychiatric hospital repeatedly, and in the hopes of them being on a regular treatment medication regimen and allowing them to be able to function outside of a psychiatric hospital in the near future. So that's basically what a conservatorship is. And then from 11 o'clock to 12 in the afternoon, we would go ahead and sit down with the attending, and we would go ahead and read articles. So we would read articles about certain cases. We would read articles about previous psychiatric facilities and research. Basically anything that the attending thought was interesting, we would go ahead and read up on that. From 12 to 2, I would go home and I would either typically shower, eat, and then go to the gym, or eat, go to the gym, then shower. And then from 3 o'clock basically to 9 p.m. I had the ability to study. So you have a lot of study time, and you have a lot of free time as well. Me personally, I recommend that you plan out your free time, which I did not do. I felt like there was so many things that I could have done. I feel like I should have used my free time a little bit better, a little bit more wise. So keep in mind that your psychiatry rotation might be a little bit different. I'm in California. I have friends in Miami, in Florida, who are doing their psychiatric rotation, and they only have to come in 3 times a week for 2 hours. And I have other people that I know that have to come into the psychiatric facility from Monday through Friday for 8 hours. So just keep in mind, your hospital and your school can be a little bit different. So I had a lot of free time, and honestly, for me personally, psychiatry to study for the shelf isn't that hard. In order for you to succeed in the psychiatry shelf, you basically have to go through the UWorld questions or AMBOSS. I like both. AMBOSS is a little bit newer to the game, and they have a little bit of like weird verbiage that you won't really see. I know when I say weird verbiage, they talk a little bit about more informally than UWorld does. UWorld uses really fancy terms, and so does AMBOSS, but they're a little bit more informal in how they ask the questions, but they both get to the same point. Really want to pay attention to the 3 types of like schizophrenia, so like schizophreniform, schizotypal, schizoid, and then of course, the classic schizophrenia and the time frames. And as far as the content goes, it wasn't very difficult, because there's not much labs to look at, there's not much critical reasoning to really think about. All this to say is that out of all of the rotations, psychiatry should be the least challenging as far as material, as well as the rigorous and the hours. The shelf is pretty easy. Again, shelf is like every other shelf, 110 questions, 2 hours and 45 minutes. For me, I felt like the shelf exam itself was pretty fair. There was a couple like tricky wording and stuff like that, but as long as you get through all of UWorld, you should be fine. That's really all you need. You don't need any extra outside resources like Anki or like online Method. I still use Anki just because that's just part of my routine, but I probably could have not used Anki and neither would have still been fine. Our school requires a 75% or greater to pass on this shelf exam, and I got an 84. So you guys are gonna be in great shape if you just show up, do the work, do the practice questions, and that's it. That's all you need. All right, some bonus things, some things that people don't really think about when it comes to psychiatry and the psychiatry rotation. If you're anything like me, you are very sensitive to psychiatric and mental illness. I never really knew this until the first week last year studying about psychiatric illness in medical school. I actually went through a whole week where I was, essentially paranoid. I was very anxious of like me developing a psychiatric illness. And I remember that last week, last year, we were just studying, schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, and I was lying awake at night. What if I have this? What if I have this? And fast forward a year and a half later, I'm spending time with these patients. A lot of them have mental illness, a lot of them have schizophrenia, all that stuff. And I actually had to see someone to talk through my feelings and talk through my anxiety and how I felt about that. Looking back on it now, I'm about 5 weeks removed from that psychiatry rotation. I'm getting better. There's still a little bit of anxious thoughts there, but my religious faith has really pulled me through and pulled me out of it. So if you're anything like me and you're sensitive to mental illness, just know that you'll have to still go through your rotations. Obviously, you're not going to get a get out free card, but you just really know that that you are mentally stable before you go in, is what I'm trying to say. And practice meditation before you go into the psychiatric facility or a little bit after. These are things that really help me out before going into the psychiatric hospital. And that's really all about it. Overall, I really enjoyed my time as a psychiatric medical student, if that makes sense. But I cannot see myself being a psychiatrist, simply because of just that. I get too anxious too quickly about myself developing a mental illness in the sense of things that are out of my control. So hats off to all of the psychiatrists out there. You guys are doing a wonderful job. I really wish that the states do a little bit better as far as giving extracurricular activity time to their patients, or giving them something to do, whether it's a menial task like gardening or picking up around the facility, or helping others through serving food, giving them things to do instead of just sitting there. It's very sad if you go into a psychiatric hospital in America today to see a lot of patients just sitting on their bed or just sleeping, because all there is to do there is just sleep and wait for food, sleep and wait for food. It reminds me of my time in juvenile detention center when I was 18. I was locked in, had a concrete bed, and that's kind of how it is there in the psychiatric hospital, unfortunately. So all that being said, I still enjoy my psychiatric rotation. Would I ever be a psychiatrist? Probably not. So that's all I have for you today. It's a very short video, and I really hope you really found this video informative. Again, the most important things that you have to really look out for is psychiatry is very chill hours. The patients are going to have mental illness, so be prepared to have a very strong cognitive mind and have a low baseline anxiety before you go in. And 3, you're going to have plenty of time to study. And 4, do all of your UWorld questions, do all of your AMBOSS questions. And 5, if you do that, you'll succeed on yourself, and that is all you need to know. So, much love. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you guys want to hear about how I made $1,000 in 1 month as a medical student, stay tuned into the next video that I have pulled up for you guys. It is going to talk about how I made $1,000 as a medical student doing freelancing driver applications. So, all that being said, till next time, much love, peace out.